In this fifth and final video for project management, I'm going to show you some of the project management tools that have been developed within PMBOK. In other words, not the logical framework, but the PMBOK. Remember, the management tools are developed in order to address 4 core processes where there are problems, namely integration management, scope management, time management, and cost management. So the tools all relate in some way or the other to those 4 processes. The tools that I'm going to show you, there are many others, but the ones that I'm going to show you in this talk are the PERT diagram. You might have come across these before. We mainly use the PERT diagram for planning and scheduling. We're going to talk about Gantt charts, which are mainly used for control and tracking, although some people will say, but they're also planning and scheduling tools. Yes, you can use them for that as well. Integrated PERT Gantt, which is very useful, and it's become actually one of the main views when you use project management software, where they combine PERT and Gantt together in the same diagram. And also software for the integration of functions. Now, the PERT diagram looks something like this, except that usually, of course, your projects are large and complex, so you don't just have 9 activities, you might have millions of activities. But this diagram gives you an idea of what we mean by a PERT diagram. These arrows have a point on them. It shows that, and the arrows represent the activities. So this activity, activity number 1, this is activity number 5, this is activity number 9, this is activity number 4. The number in brackets underneath tells you the number of working days of each of those activities. That's the one in brackets underneath. So this over here, this arrow represents activity number 7, and we think it's going to take 2 working days. These arrows are known as arcs. The little circles are points where activities start or finish, and they're called nodes. The big thick activity lines, the big thick arrows, those are what we call the critical path of this project. Because if you think about it, and you're welcome to spend some time reflecting on this, if one of these thick arrows, if any of those activities delays by 1 day, the project is going to be delayed overall. So we call these critical activities. They may and must not delay, because if they delay, they will delay the project. These skinny arrows are the ones that are not critical, because in actual fact, if they delay by a day or so, they won't delay the project. So this is a planning and scheduling tool, and you've probably seen them before. This is another tool that you've probably seen before. It's the only PMBOK tool that actually wasn't invented specifically for project management. It predates project management by several decades, and it was named after an engineer in the United States called Mr. Henry Gantt. These are very useful for monitoring and evaluation, and you see it's a sort of a bar chart, and each one represents a different activity. And you've probably come across these quite often. Of course, what actually happens is that if you're using project management software, people, and myself in particular, I like to combine the PERT and the Gantt into the same sort of diagram. So it's a combination PERT Gantt. And then I use that single view for scheduling and planning, and I also use it for monitoring and evaluation. If you attend the project management module, you will actually learn how to draw these and interpret them and use them. This is just a familiarization tour, so that you recognize what they are. For horizontal integration, you can do all kinds of other things. You can look at the team structures, task forces, matrix teams, reporting networks, liaison officers, team leaders, project managers. All these have been created in order to facilitate horizontal integration in the project. Now, when you come to cost management, there are a whole lot of very useful tools that have been developed here as well. And these often go by these little acronyms, BCWS, which stands for Budgeted Cost of Work Scheduled. You don't need to remember these. If you do the project management course, you will become familiar with what these stand for. Schedule Performance Index, Cost Performance Index, Earned Value Analysis. All these things are developed in order to monitor and control the costs of the project, to try and make sure that you don't run into really awful cost overruns on the project. So if you do the project management course, these things will become a lot clearer to you. I'm not expecting you to understand them now. I'm just familiarizing you with the territory. Thank you.